Howdy, Space Rangers, Captain Phoenix here. Today we are talking about the Super Mario Brothers movie. And full disclosure before I start, let me just get this out of the way so you all know I am not a Mario fan, nor am I like a hardcore Nintendo fan. I only played like one Mario game, which was like the 8-bit game, which came out like long ago, and I only watched like the couple TV shows they made when I was like really young, so I don't remember them now. And for the life of me, I cannot, and I'm too lazy to go rewatch them. All I know is that in one of them, Mario was in a dinosaur world, and in the other one, it was like in a storybook world. That's about it. So my knowledge of Mario is very lukewarm, and of course, secondhand information. But that's my personal experience with Mario. Is just that's just the stuff I knew growing up. Growing up. So when this movie got announced, I was like, okay, that's cool. They're making a Mario movie. And then I heard it was being made by Illumination. And I'm like, oh, they're making a Mario movie. This is interesting. I gotta talk about this and talk about it. The internet did. The internet was on fire because of this movie, and this movie went through like a very crazy emotional roller coaster of a ride to get where it is now. Because a lot of people were very pessimistic, and a lot of them were really wanting to hate on the Mario movie when it was announced. Because the animation studio behind it was Illumination, which nobody was on board for, and the what do you call it? And the voice cast, the cast of the movie, was just celebrities, and everyone was like, oh no, they're gonna dunk on the game so hard. It's gonna be like those video game adaptations we got like in the early 2000s. Oh, kill us now, and everyone was just freaking out. Then the first couple trailers came out, and they're like, okay, this is fire. This is kind of fire. I see what they're going with. I like this. And then the movie came out, and everyone was split on it. The critics hate it, the audiences like it. I'm of the audience, I would say, where I found this movie very entertaining, if I do say so myself. However, I also find this movie to be an enigma, a sort of miracle that this movie exists. And I kind of want to dive into that while also talking about its strengths and weaknesses and just kind of seeing how this movie ticks. How did it get so many people to fall in love with it? But at the same time, how did it get so many people pissed off? And again, I just find the existence of this movie very strange. And that's just kind of what I want to dissect here. So forgive me, my points are just all over the place. But I figured we would start off somewhere. So let's start off with the animation itself. The animation, of course, the animation studio behind this movie was Illumination. For those who don't know Illumination, they make a lot of basic average movies. They're the people who made the Despicable Me movies, the Secret Life of Pets movies, and the Sing movies, that kind of stuff. The movies are always very safe and family friendly, but they're very much geared towards kids. Illumination is the reason a lot of people say animation is just for kids, because that's what all of Illumination's movies are, is that they're very much geared towards children. And they don't really produce a lot of good movies. In my opinion, they've only really produced two outstanding movies, that being Despicable Me 1, okay, well, three: Despicable Me 1, Despicable Me 2, and Sing 2. Those are the only three movies I'd say, yeah, those were pretty good. I'd watch those again. And that's about it. The rest of their movies are like, okay, it's like fun background noise you put on for children. So a lot of people were very pessimistic when they were the ones behind the Mario movie. But I can safely say the animation in this movie is the best part of it. If you are gonna go see the Mario movie, see it for the animation. Not only for the little details they have in the background, because again, this was animated by Mario fans. So you see a lot of little hidden details in the background that connect to the games and whatnot. And even just some details that are just right in your face. But also just for the like for the colors and the action, because this movie has some really good and creative action. I especially love the camera work in this movie. I know it's a weird thing to say, because in animated movies you always follow what the animator or the drawer is showing you. But so when I'm talking about the camera work in an animated movie being good, you know it's serious. They do some weird, crazy things with the camera work, and like the way it moves around the characters when they're in an action scene. It's really good. I like you could. There was a lot of effort to put into this movie, and I think that's in no small part to Nintendo. Because for those who don't know, Nintendo did pair up with Illumination to make this movie. This wasn't just Illumination buying the rights to Mario. This was them straight up having a partnership deal with Nintendo. And so I felt like when it came to Nintendo, they forced Illumination to do a lot of things. Chris Meledandri, the CEO of Illumination, is like he's being memed on because the CEO of Nintendo, I forgot his name, but a lot of people are saying that he's like holding Chris at gunpoint. They're like, make this movie good. We don't want none of your children nonsense in this movie. You better give us a good goddamn Mario movie, or so help us, or so help me. You'll never see your family again. That kind of stuff. It's like Illumination was very much under threat from Nintendo to make this movie good. And I feel like I feel like Illumination only took up Nintendo's offer to make this movie good under two circumstances. A, so they could make a Mario movie, which obviously would get them a lot of money. and B, because again, it's a popular product, it gets a lot of money, and on top of that, it's Nintendo. You know, like if Nintendo comes knocking on your door, you better be ready to have a brand deal with them. So I think they were willing to compromise on this one, and a lot of Illumination's traits were reduced in this movie. As said, the heavy slapstick you'd see in most Illumination movies, where the characters are just kind of spazzing out, moving however they want, is reduced. The character designs are really nice to look at instead of just kind of having this weird vibe of what are they going for? Again, of course, the designs come from the game, so you can't really say it's all Illumination's doing. But the designs in this movie really are good. I like the lighting, I like the colors. I said the action and the animation, it's really good. And of course, because this movie was animated by Mario lovers, there's so many details in the background that you, if you're a Mario fan, you'll love to pick apart. And of course, in the forefront of the movie, we have so many things that are tied to the games, which normal audiences wouldn't get. So I do think Illumination did a good part for this movie. However, there was also a couple of Illumination things that did rear the ugly head. The main thing people like to draw to is the soundtrack. The soundtrack for most of the movie is really good, using the video game elements and then making them a bit more modern and epic and orchestral. And then you have the occasional pop song here and there, which just don't make sense in the scenes they're in. Like they used "I Need a Hero" for a training scene, which like doesn't make sense at all, especially in that context. Like, why couldn't they use it at the end when Mario is saving Luigi or fighting Bowser? Why in the training scene? Or they used "Take on Me" when they get to Kong City. Like, okay, you could have used it when Mario's fighting Donkey Kong. It would have been just as effective. Why are we using it when they're driving down the road? I swear, the songs in this movie are very miss. It's not even like hit or miss. It's very miss. But of course, Illumination got them because A, it's what the TikTokers love to use, and B, free money. Like buy, they get the rights to a song, the song gets the money, all that stuff. So there's still a lot of Illumination elements in this movie. So what about the story and the characters? What story? The story is the most bare bones thing there is. If you've played at least one Mario game, you know the story of this movie. Bowser has kidnapped someone close to Mario. In the games, it was Peach. In this movie, it is Luigi. And I really do like this change, honestly. I'm fine with Luigi being the damsel in distress in this scenario. Mostly because Mario doesn't know who Peach is, so it wouldn't make sense that he would go rescue someone he barely knows. And seeing as this movie is kind of like an isekai, it makes sense why Mario would go save his brother because they both came from the normal world, and then Peach is the one who introduces him to this world. I was fine with that. So Bowser captures Luigi, and now Mario has to team up with Peach and the Kongs, and they need a big army to go and stop Bowser and save the day. The story is very bare bones. The main thing this movie wants you to do is look at the set pieces and Easter eggs, which is what this movie is. It's just for the set pieces and Easter eggs, and again, for the Mario fans at home. And so that's kind of what we do, and that's why I feel like this movie has a huge issue when it comes to pacing and the characters. Those would be my main problems with the movie, or to say so myself, is that the pacing is it moves at a breakneck speed. Like this movie just goes so fast. It's like it's in a rush to go somewhere, which doesn't make sense. Like, movie, we're here to watch you, not watch the movie after you. Slow down, god damn. But yeah, the movie moves way too fast. Too like the pacing is too fast. I wouldn't say it's rushed or anything, because like you understand the story as we go along, but it doesn't give you enough time to let moments sink in or to truly understand the character. Which of course the pacing does affect the characters. I cared for almost none of these characters. The only ones who had a genuine relationship, in my opinion, the only ones who had like a genuine connection were Mario and Luigi. That's about it. They're the only ones who I was like, okay, yes, these guys actually care for each other. I understand why Mario is going through hell and high water to save Luigi. Everyone else, I don't care. I didn't feel the chemistry between Mario and Peach. The rivalry between Mario and Donkey Kong kind of felt like it came out of nowhere after their fight, and then it got resolved very quickly. I didn't really think Mario grew that connection with Toad. I only feel like he carried Toad along just because Peach liked him. And Bowser, of course, everyone loves Bowser, but like, yeah, even I didn't feel the rivalry between him and Mario. Could be due to the fact that they only met at the end of the movie, but whatever, I digress. And then, since we're speaking of the characters, the voice cast. The voice cast for this movie was mostly fine. Of course, there was a lot of drama tied to the voice cast because people didn't like celebrities voicing them, which of course was an Illumination problem. Illumination probably are the people who casted these people themselves. But I didn't have a problem with the voice cast, honestly. Most of them, that is. Chris Pratt did fine as Mario, which I'm glad, because I would not I don't think I would have enjoyed this movie as much if the entire movie if for like the entire movie Mario was just going wahoo, let's go, yahoo. I don't think I would have survived. So I'm glad that Chris Pratt gave him more down to earth voice. It's just it felt like he couldn't pick an identity. It feels like he didn't really embrace the character watching the movie, which is ironic because he's like, man, my buddy's stomping Koopas in like the interviews. It's hilarious. This movie was like so hilarious, like on arrival. Anya Taylor Joy's Peach, I can understand why people didn't like her. Her dialogue and the way she gives it is very NPC like. And as mentioned, she and Mario didn't feel like they gave a connection to each other. It felt more like they were trading stories instead of actually talking about what makes them tick. So it's like, okay. Charlie Day's Luigi was fine. He just wasn't in the movie a lot, so I can't really say if he did amazing or not. Keegan Michael Key as Toad. Keegan Michael Key, I love him in most of the projects he is in. But for this movie, it's like, no, man, this was not it, Chief. I did not like his voice. Honestly, Toad was probably the worst voice performance, in my opinion. His voice was so grating, I did not care for it. And what's sad is that Keegan did give some effort into his role. He actually did try, but like, it wasn't working, man. It just wasn't working. But of course, everyone loves Jack Black as Bowser. Jack Black basically made Bowser who he is. I honestly feel like they modeled Bowser after Jack Black before casting Jack Black because that was way too perfect casting. And of course, we all know the song Peaches, which just cemented Bowser as the all-time best thing to ever exist in all of reality in the history of the universe. You know. And that was kind of it for the Mario movie. I found it enjoyable and entertaining, which is what it set out to do. It's made by Illumination, as a company that makes safe movies, and they partnered up with Nintendo, another company that likes to make safe games and safe marketing, which Illumination succeeds in. They market to a lot of people. And so the only thing I was worried about this movie was that it would just be a basic story that's very boring. But it's not. It's a very entertaining movie that does have a few too many set pieces, which makes the action scenes it promises feel not dragged but delayed. Like they're like, yeah, we'll give you what we promise to give you what you want. It's just gonna come a bit later, and it's got some very bad pacing. And again, I'm not really attached to the characters of this movie. But again, I don't feel like I can speak for this movie because this movie was made purely for the fans, and I think that's honestly really cool in a sense because I love it when there's a product made with passion made for the fans of that product. And it's kind of like why I'm still in Star Wars and Marvel to this day because they those things know how to do fan service properly. And the Mario movie is fan service to the extreme. There are so many references to the game. Mario in a cat suit, the blue shell, your princess is in another castle. Is the accent on too thick? Like there's a lot of things that tie to the games. A lot of things that probably flew over my head as well because I didn't play the games. I didn't play as many games. But I know there were a lot of references to the games that the fans will love, which is why I also don't feel like I'm qualified enough to talk about this movie because I wouldn't get all the references, like Rainbow Road and Mario drifting and the giant eel in the water. Honestly, what was up with that eel? I have no idea. Can somebody please fill me in? So, yeah, this movie was made for the fans, and I feel like on that merit alone, this movie is worth existing. Not only that, but if you're a Mario fan, go see this movie in theaters just because of that. Because this movie is a huge love letter to Mario and to Mario fans in general. Whereas for a normal audience like me, it would have been very hard to get sucked into this movie because this movie introduces a lot of elements and doesn't explain them. Like it introduces the mushrooms. Okay, the mushrooms make you big. Okay, then we have the fire and frost flowers. Okay, where do they come from? Why do they change your clothes? What? And then we have like the goddamn blue shell where he's like a blue shell, like he's so important. I'm like, why are you important? Do I know you? Are you a general? What's happening here? A lot of elements from the games just get injected into this movie, and they're just kind of there. They don't explain why. They're just kind of there. But I'm not too pissed off about it, mostly because all of the game elements are in the fantasy world. They are in the Mushroom Kingdom world, so I can honestly accept why they would be a fundamental part of this universe, being part of the Mushroom Kingdom, because these are all fantastical elements. Whereas with critics, I understand why they would be pissed because the movie doesn't take time to explain even one of them. Like they introduced the cat suit as a power up in one of the boxes, but they never mentioned it before, nor did they mention it again. And then they do it again in the finale with the Tanuki suit, and it's like, when did you mention this? So I feel like this movie does expect you to have played a couple of the games. If you go into this movie blind, you'll be very confused. But again, the movie moves by so fast that by the time you think of a question, you're already on the next scene. That's kind of why I find this movie to be such an enigma, such a weird thing to exist. Because it's meant both for fans, but you can also watch it as someone who's not a fan of the games. You can watch it as someone who's not a fan of the games because, again, the movie is very entertaining and moves by at a breakneck pace, and it's over before you have a chance to ask any questions. But it's also primarily made for the fans because almost all of the elements in this movie are for the fans of the games. It's just you would be very hella confused if you're not a fan, but the movie moves by too fast. So the movie kind of tries to have its cake and eat it, where yeah, we have a cool story with cool action and nice entertaining stuff, but at the same time we don't give our characters any depth. And unless you've played the game, you wouldn't feel that connection to the characters, you know? It very much feels like it's trying to pander to two people at once, and it's like, okay, make up your mind as to who you want this to be for. Is this for the fans who've only played the games, or is this for the general audience? Illumination says both because they're Illumination. But bottom line is the Mario movie is a good movie. It's a very entertaining movie. Very good movie for kids, I'd say. Illumination has excelled at once again making a good kids movie. So if you want something for them, if you want to put this on the background for them to watch, I'd highly recommend it. And if you're a fan of the games, I dare say it's worth a trip to the cinemas. Honestly, if you're a fan of the games and you're watching this, go check it out in the theaters. You will not regret it. It's very much made for the fans. However, I will never say that this is the best video game adaptation ever, the best video game like adaptation out there. Mostly because other video game movies and shows exist that are like so much better. Things like Sonic the Hedgehog and other ones that are more highly loved like Castlevania and Arcane. So if you want a good video game adaptation, go watch those things. But definitely not Sonic first. If you just want a fun ride and you really don't care how well it sticks to the games, or if you really do care about it being loyal to the games, yeah, go check it out. It's a safe bet, a safe ride, and I will. And given how big Nintendo's fan base is and how big Illumination's like target demographic is, I will not be surprised if this is the highest grossing movie in the entire year at all. So yeah. Anyways, go check out the Mario movie. I think it's a really good movie. It's a nice 7 out of 10, I'd say. Probably a 6 out of 10 on a bad day. But because I think it's charming enough as it is, yeah, 7 out of 10. Go check it out and form your own opinion. Of course, go check out Sarcastic Chorus. He's the guy still in the clips for this video. I will leave his channel name down in the description below. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys. I'll be Captain Phoenix. Be sure to like if you like, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell to be part of the team. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I'll be Captain Phoenix, and that I will see you in another universe. Goodbye, my Rangers.